What if a 5-year-old child knew something that would force us to question everything we believe about life, death, and the universe itself? In a small town in Oregon, a young boy began sharing impossible memories of a life he lived on another planet. He was so certain, his disturbing details so precise, that even skeptical scientists across America started questioning what they knew about reality. Everything you're about to hear will challenge logic. The secrets that poured from little Jasper's mouth shook his family to the core and left the scientific community in the United States searching desperately for answers. This story might fundamentally change your belief system, because sometimes the truth is stranger than anything our imagination could create. We share reincarnation stories like this on the Reincarnation Chronicles channel. Don't miss them. Make sure to follow us. Let's begin. Everything started on an ordinary Saturday morning for the Whitlock family in Oregon, Ashford, Oregon. Mary Ann Whitlock was preparing pancakes in the kitchen while her 5-year-old son Jasper sat at the table with crayons scattered across the wooden surface. Over the past few weeks, the small boy had developed a strange fascination with drawing. But these weren't ordinary children's drawings. They were always different from what he used to create. When Mary Ann approached to see what her son was drawing this time, her entire body shivered. On the paper in front of Jasper was an alien landscape, a purple sky crossed by 3 suns, impossible geometric structures that defied gravity, and strange, elegantly shaped creatures. Another mother might have panicked a little, but Mary Ann remained calm as she watched. She felt as if these drawings meant something more. She crouched down beside him and asked, "Jasper, honey, what are you drawing here?" The small boy turned his blue eyes toward his mother with a seriousness that didn't match his age. "This is where I used to
live, Mom," he answered. "Kepler," he said. Mary Ann smiled nervously, thinking this was his imaginary world. "Kepler?" she asked. Her son pointed his finger upward. "Very far away, Mom," he said. "Many light years from here. Dad Silas used to tell me it was 452 light years away." Mary Ann's smiling expression suddenly began to change. How could a 5-year-old child know the concept of light years? Her husband, Grant, who had just entered the kitchen, exchanged a worried glance with her. Anyone experiencing such moments would be in a state of panic. Has this ever happened to you? In the following days, what Jasper told them became increasingly detailed and disturbing. At night, when his mother and father put him to bed, he would tell stories about his previous life in a very mature and knowledgeable way. He talked about a place where gravity was different. He explained that because the atmosphere was toxic, people lived under transparent domes. This was very strange for his family. He described advanced technologies, wheelless floating vehicles, holographic screens that appeared in the air. "Mom, you know, on Kepler we didn't eat food like here. We took nutrition tablets. They could give any taste we wanted. I love the ones that tasted like a Lara fruit. It was like your strawberries, but blue, and gave a tingling sensation on the tongue." Mary Ann, his mother, both wanted to listen to what her son was telling and was worried. She tried to take notes of every detail he shared, trying to make sense of it all. Were these stories a product of imagination or something inexplicable? When his father, Grant, came home from work, he found his wife at the kitchen table with dozens of Jasper's drawings spread out before her, staring at them. "Mary Ann, what's going on? You've been looking at these drawings since morning," he asked. Mary Ann told her husband what Jasper had said that day. Grant smiled at first, but his face became serious when he heard the scientific terms his son used. A 5-year-old child couldn't describe words like atmosphere, holographic, and light years so clearly. "I don't know.
Marianne said, her voice trembling with worry.
But this isn't just words. When he talks about these things, it's as if he's really lived them. I can feel the longing in his eyes.
But what finally drove Marianne to seek outside help was the planetarium incident. Jasper's preschool had an educational trip to the Portland Observatory. While other children were excitedly examining models of spacecraft, Jasper silently entered the hall where the exoplanet presentation was taking place. During the presentation about exoplanets, the famous astrophysicist Dr. Warren Hayes was talking about a planet called Kepler 452b. Just as the scientist was explaining the planet's characteristics, Jasper had stood up and pointed with his small hand.
"Excuse me, but you're wrong about Kepler 452b. It doesn't have one moon, it has 3. And the ocean isn't blue, it's orange because of the phytoplankton that produce different pigments," he had shouted.
The silence in the hall was absolute. 35 children and 5 teachers stared at little Jasper without making a single sound. Dr. Hayes looked at the small boy with a mixture of astonishment and amusement. "Young friend, how do you know this? Kepler 452b is a very recent discovery. Where did you learn this information?" Jasper had shrugged as if it were completely normal.
"I know because I lived there. My name there was Orion. I lived in Prism City in Sector 9. My father was a life support systems engineer."
Dr. Hayes had smiled politely, but something in the child's gaze disturbed him. There was a determination, a seriousness that no child that day possessed. When the presentation ended, Dr. Hayes approached Jasper's teacher and said he wanted to meet with the family. "If you're questioning whether this is real, these questions aren't just spinning in your mind." That evening, Marianne and Grant felt their hearts racing as they sat in Dr. Hayes' office. In the cluttered office, filled with books and star charts, the scientist was listening to them carefully.
"I know this will sound crazy," Marianne began, "but our son has been telling us impossible things for the past 3 months. Scientific concepts, astronomical details that a 5-year-old child couldn't know. At first, we thought it was imagination, but now—"
Grant interrupted. "Doctor, please don't see us as crazy parents. We've looked for logical explanations. Maybe he watched a documentary on television. Maybe he learned something at school. But no, what Jasper talks about isn't what a child should know. We never talked to Jasper about space." Dr. Hayes adjusted his glasses and leaned forward. "I'll be honest with you. Under normal circumstances, I would attribute this to productive imagination or accidentally heard information. Children sometimes learn surprising things. But what your son said today about Kepler 452b's moons..." The doctor paused and took a deep breath. "This information was confirmed by our team last week. We detected 3 moons. Nobody knows this. This hasn't been publicly announced yet. The scientific papers haven't been published yet. Only our team and NASA's relevant unit know. It's impossible for your son to know this. Impossible to learn it." The silence grew heavier. Marianne's eyes filled with tears.
"But what does this mean?"
Dr. Hayes placed his hands on the desk. "I need to examine what your son knows in great detail. With your permission, I'd like to meet with Jasper regularly. I want to document what he knows, try to understand how he knows it. And I want to involve a few of my colleagues, a child psychologist, a neurologist, and maybe what?" asked Grant, the father. "Maybe reincarnation specialists," Dr. Hayes said quietly. "I know it sounds incredible. I'm a scientist. I believe in measurable, testable truths. But throughout my career, I've seen some things I couldn't explain. And if your son really remembers living on another planet, This could be an incredible discovery for science. In the following weeks, Dr. Hayes arranged a series of meetings with Jasper, always with his parents present. First, he called in child psychologist Dr. Rachel Kensington. Dr. Rachel was a neuropsychologist specializing in extraordinary memory cases in children. She herself had lost her mother at a young age. Perhaps that's why she had a special sensitivity to children's inner worlds. In their first meeting, Dr. Rachel had taken Jasper to a colorful room filled with toys to make him comfortable. "Jasper, will you talk with me a bit? I won't harm you at all. We'll just talk." Jasper nodded, holding a toy spaceship in his small hands. "Are you here to understand that I'm not crazy too?" Dr. Rachel was surprised. "No, sweetie, nobody thinks you're crazy. We just think you might have a special gift. Will you tell me about Kepler?" Jasper's eyes immediately lit up, as if someone had asked a question nobody had asked in a very long time. Kepler was beautiful. "I lived in Prism City. You know, the city's name really came from crystals. Outside the domes, in the toxic atmosphere, there were giant crystal formations. At night, they emitted phosphorescent lights. Blue, green, purple. They illuminated the entire city." "Did you live there with your family?" Jasper's face softened. "Yes. My father was Silas. My mother was Evelyn. And I had a little sister, Iris. She was so sweet. She always followed me around. When I was 7 years old, she was 3. Dr. Rachel was taking careful notes. "How do you remember these ages, Jasper?" "I don't know. I just remember. I was 9 years old when I died there. According to Kepler years, it would be more according to Earth years, because our planet rotated more slowly around the star. Anyone experiencing this moment would have their breath taken away." Dr. Rachel dropped her pen. A 5-year-old child couldn't have knowledge about planetary rotation speeds. This was an inexplicable answer. As the team expanded, the sessions with Jasper became more systematic. Professor Julian Cross, a theoretical physicist from MIT, had joined specifically to ask questions about the technologies Jasper mentioned. One afternoon, Professor Cross asked Jasper a simple question. "Jasper, how did you generate energy on Kepler?" The child thought for a moment, as if searching for the right word in his mental archive. "We used fusion energy. My father explained it to me. They confined helium-3 in a magnetic field and caused fusion. Very clean energy, doesn't emit radiation, much safer than Earth's old nuclear power plants." Professor Cross's mouth hung open. "Jasper, helium-3 fusion is still an experimental technology on Earth. How do you know this?" "My father showed me. One day he took me to his workplace. There were giant magnetic rings. Plasma was rotating inside. It was beautiful. It was glowing as if we were keeping a star in a cage." Professor Cross went home that night and told his wife, "Today I met either a genius or someone who's really been reincarnated. I'm not sure which." But perhaps one of the most striking moments was when Jasper talked about his school on Kepler. Dr. Rachel had asked him about his daily life. "I would walk to school. Everything inside the dome was safe. The school building was like glass. A lot of light came in. Red light, though. Everything on Kepler looked reddish because our sun was a red star." "What did they teach you at school?" "Math, physics, history, but I loved xenobiology the most. It's the science of studying life forms different from Earth life. On Kepler, there were plants and animals different from Earth. For example, glowing mushrooms. They could be 3 meters tall, emitting green light in the dark. If you touched them, they made a musical sound." Marianne couldn't hold back her tears as she listened to her son's descriptions. So much detail, so much consistency. This was too much for Jasper. One day, Jasper had talked about his best friend at school. His name was Cassian. He was a year younger than me, but very smart. We used to solve quantum mathematics together. Our teacher, Professor Thorne, he had a name similar to my father's. He always gave us challenging problems. Grant had asked curiously, "Quantum mathematics? What does that mean?" Jasper had thought. How can I explain? You know, the tiny particles inside atoms can be in one place and also somewhere else, at the same time. We call this superposition. Quantum mathematics is used to calculate such things. Grant and Marianne had looked at each other. Their son had just explained a university-level physics concept. If you also love such mysteries, this story may carry even deeper meanings for you. As months passed, the team subjected Jasper to a series of tests and scans. Brain imaging showed unusual activity in some areas of his brain, especially the hippocampus. The long-term memory center was 40% more active than normal. Dr. Marcus Chen, a neurologist, couldn't hide his astonishment when looking at these results. This child's brain is showing the brain activity of an adult human. Memory consolidation, that is, making memories permanent, is happening at a very high level. It's as if his brain is constantly working to preserve old memories. Psychological tests also gave interesting results. Jasper's emotional intelligence was far above his age. He had scored at adult levels on empathy tests. But the most interesting was the IQ test. Jasper had scored 160 on standard children's IQ tests. This was in the highly gifted intelligence category. But Dr. Rachel said this didn't reflect the full picture. Jasper has a special intelligence. He doesn't just accumulate information, he understands concepts deeply, especially when it comes to abstract concepts. This is an ability that generally doesn't develop until age 12 or 13. The team also began asking Jasper questions about Kepler that would be impossible for him to know. One day, Dr. Hayes asked the child, "Jasper, what was the temperature of Kepler's sun?" Jasper closed his eyes and thought. "About 4,500 Kelvin, cooler than Earth's sun. That's why it gave red light." Dr. Hayes excitedly looked at his computer. The temperature of Kepler 452b's star was indeed around 4,500 Kelvin. This information was barely mentioned even in the newest astrophysics publications. What about the planet's orbit? 385 days, so our 1 year was a bit longer than your 1 year. Again, correct. Dr. Hayes was now asking questions directly, without shuffling through his notes. Gravity? 80% of Earth's. That's why we were taller and could jump more easily. Atmospheric composition. Inside the domes or outside? Outside it was mostly carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. Poisonous. Inside we mimicked Earth's atmosphere. 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen. With each correct answer, Dr. Hayes's astonishment grew. Some of this information hadn't even been published in scientific literature yet. Some had been obtained through theoretical calculations. How could a 5-year-old child know these things? But perhaps the most emotional moment was when Jasper told about his last day on Kepler. When Dr. Rachel asked him to describe that day, Jasper's face darkened. "We got out of school early that day. Our teacher was sick. I was walking home with Iris. She was teaching me a song, an old Earth song my mother used to sing. Then there was a tremor from the ground." Jasper's voice began to tremble. "I looked up. A red light was flashing somewhere on the dome. Alarm sounds were heard. My father had always told us we needed to run to the emergency shelter, but Iris got scared.
She started shaking. I tried to carry her, but she was heavy. Marianne had hugged her son, but Jasper wanted to continue. Then I saw a huge crack in a section of the dome. A yellow-green gas was seeping in from outside. People were screaming, running. I held Iris's hand. We ran together, but the gas was approaching us too fast. Tears began streaming down Jasper's cheeks. I couldn't breathe anymore. My throat was burning. Iris fell to the ground. I tried to lift her, but I had no strength. Then everything went dark, and I never saw them again. Everyone in the room was crying. Dr. Rachel, Professor Cross, Dr. Hayes, Marianne, Grant, all of them. This 5-year-old child was mourning the family he had lost in another world. He wasn't the only one in this situation, but perhaps he was the only one who remembered such pain. Jasper's case spread through scientific circles. Dr. Hayes wrote an article for Nature journal. Initially rejected, he persisted with more tests and documentation. He compared everything Jasper said about Kepler with known astrophysics data. The results were astonishing. Out of 47 details, 45 matched perfectly with scientific data. 6 months later, Professor Vincent Shaw, a Canadian reincarnation specialist, came to meet Jasper. In 40 years, he'd documented over 2,000 cases worldwide, but never one from another planet. In their first meeting, Professor Shaw just listened. Jasper told him about what happened after his death on Kepler. "After the darkness, I found myself somewhere warm and soft," Jasper said. "Other beings were there, but I couldn't see them. Then I heard a voice, neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It told me I could choose to go back or stay. If I went back, I had to go to Earth because Kepler's colony didn't exist anymore." A meteor strike had destroyed everything. Marianne and Grant exchanged shocked glances. I said yes. The voice said Earth was beautiful, the planet of my ancestors. Then I saw golden light and felt myself being pulled toward it. Next thing I knew, I was inside Mom, safe and warm. I slowly started forgetting Kepler, but not completely. Professor Shaw used regression hypnosis for weeks. During sessions, Jasper's voice deepened. "I am Orion, 9 years old. Today is my Sciences Academy final exam." He spoke about quantum mechanics tests, Professor Thorne's pride and his family, his father teaching him about stars, his mother's cooking, little Iris calling, "Brother, brother!" Over time, Jasper's case crossed America's borders. BBC wanted a documentary. National Geographic published an article. But Marianne and Grant protected their son from the media circus. They did participate in one press conference. Sitting between his parents, calm but serious, Jasper answered questions. A journalist asked if his stories were just imagination. Jasper looked directly at him with those piercing blue eyes. "I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm just saying what I remember. Kepler is very real to me. My father Silas is real. My mother Evelyn is real. My sister Iris is real. The pain of losing them is real. Whether people believe it or not doesn't change that." Another journalist leaned forward. "Why do you think this happened to you? Why do you remember when others don't?" Jasper thought carefully before responding. "Maybe everyone remembers, but nobody says anything. Maybe because I died so quickly, my memories weren't erased. I don't know for certain. But I know this: the universe is much more mysterious than we think. Death isn't an end. It's just a door to somewhere else.
The video of that press conference went viral across America and beyond, getting millions of views. Comments were divided. Some believed Jasper, others remained skeptical. But everyone agreed. This child was extraordinary. Later, a Seattle conference on consciousness and reincarnation brought together 500 scientists worldwide. At age 6, Jasper took the stage. "I'm speaking as a child with the knowledge of two lives. Consciousness is immortal. Our bodies are temporary, but our soul is eternal. I died on Kepler. My family died. But I'm here in a new body. Same soul, different body." A scientist asked how they could be sure. Jasper smiled. 300 years ago, people didn't believe other planets existed. 100 years ago, quantum mechanics was nonsense. Maybe in 100 years, reincarnation will be normal. Science progresses by trying to understand, not by rejecting. Standing ovation followed. This child had reminded them to investigate with curiosity. By age 7, Jasper attended a special school suited to his abilities, but relationships with other children remained difficult. One day, he came home from school with tears in his eyes. "Mom, today they called me the alien kid. Nobody wanted to play with me at recess. They said I was weird." Marianne pulled her son into a tight hug, feeling his small body shake. "People are afraid of what they don't understand, Jasper. You're different, that's absolutely true, but being different isn't a bad thing. You're special. You have knowledge that most people will never have." "But I don't want to be special," Jasper whispered against her shoulder. "I just want to be normal. I don't want to remember Kepler anymore. It hurts too much." Grant knelt down beside them. "Jasper, you have a gift. I know right now it feels like a burden, but one day this experience will teach you and so many others incredible things. You have special knowledge about how the universe really works." That night, Marianne found him at the window in his room, staring up at the stars scattered across the Oregon sky. She sat beside him quietly. "You miss them every night, don't you?" she asked softly. "Every single night, Mom," Jasper whispered, his breath fogging the glass. "My father, Silas, my mother, Evelyn, little Iris. I wish I could reach them somehow. I wish I knew if their souls are still out there somewhere." Marianne thought carefully about her words. "You know, Jasper, you love quantum mechanics. There's something called quantum entanglement, right? A connection between two particles that exists no matter the distance." Jasper looked at his mother with sudden interest. "Yes? Well, maybe there's such a connection between your soul and their souls, too. Maybe no matter the distance, 452 light years or more, they can feel you. Maybe they miss you just as much as you miss them." For the first time that day, Jasper smiled. A small, fragile smile, but real. "Maybe you're right, Mom. Maybe so." Over the following years, Jasper became an extraordinary student. At 10, he was attending university-level physics classes, solving problems that baffled graduate students. At 12, he published his first scientific paper, Quantum Entanglement-Based Instantaneous Communication, a Theoretical Framework. The paper was published in a prestigious science journal and received international attention. In a television interview shortly after, a reporter asked him, "Jasper, you're only 12 years old and working on concepts most adults can't understand. How is this possible?" Jasper answered with characteristic directness. "I have the knowledge of two lives inside me. The education I received on Kepler, combined with the education I'm receiving here on Earth, It's like having the accumulated knowledge of two people. And every day I learn something new, I think, I wish I could tell my father Silas about this. At 14, he entered an international astronomy competition. His project was an exhaustive habitability analysis of Kepler 452b, using detailed calculations, simulations, and theoretical models to determine whether life on the planet was truly possible. His findings were revolutionary. He won first place. In his award speech, which would later go viral across America and around the world, he said, "I didn't do this project just out of scientific curiosity. Kepler isn't just a distant planet to me. It was my home. My family was there. Even though I can't see them physically, we're still connected spiritually across the vastness of space. This project is a gift to them. It's my way of saying, I haven't forgotten you. I will never forget you. I love you." Most of the audience was crying. This wasn't just a scientific presentation. It was a declaration of love across 452 light years of empty space. When Jasper turned 16, Dr. Hayes arranged something extraordinary. Through special permission, Jasper would observe Kepler 452 using the massive telescope at Mauna Kea Observatory in Hawaii. The night of the observation, Jasper's hands trembled as he sat at the control station. The telescope operator, an older man with kind eyes, carefully entered the coordinates. The massive telescope moved with surprising grace, motors humming softly in the darkness. On the monitor, an area filled with thousands of stars appeared, overwhelming in its beauty and vastness. Then the operator zoomed in. In the center of the screen appeared a small, reddish dot, barely distinguishable from the stars around it. "There it is," the operator said gently. "Kepler 452, your old son." Jasper leaned closer to the screen, his eyes filling with tears that caught the monitor's light. His voice was barely a whisper. "Hello, this is me, Jasper. I'm here, 452 light years away. I don't know if there's anyone still there. I don't know if you can hear me somehow. But if you can, I love you. I've missed you every single day." Dr. Hayes stood beside him, one hand on the boy's shoulder, offering silent support. The moment stretched out, sacred and profound. That night, for the first time in years, Jasper slept peacefully without nightmares. In his dream, he was back in Prism City. But this time there was no fear, no toxic gas, no death. He sat with his father Silas, his mother Evelyn, and little Iris under the 3 moons, their light painting everything in shades of silver and blue. His father looked at him with eyes full of pride. "Orion," he said warmly, "I'm so proud of you. You've done wonderful things in both worlds. Your mother and I, and your sister, we're all proud. Now go, live your new life fully. But remember, we're always with you. Distance means nothing to souls. Love transcends everything. Souls are eternal." When Jasper woke the next morning, his pillow was damp with tears, but his face wore a genuine smile. He went downstairs and hugged both Marianne and Grant tightly. "Thank you," he said simply, "for believing me when it would have been easier not to, for supporting me when others would have called me crazy, for loving me no matter where I came from." Marianne wiped her own tears. "You're our son, Jasper. And whatever planet you originally came from, wherever your soul has traveled, we will love you forever. That's what family means." Today, Jasper is 18, studying astrophysics. His quantum communication paper made headlines. At a recent conference, someone asked if he still remembered Kepler. Yes, less each day, but the emotions never fade. Love, loss, longing, these are eternal. What did this teach you? The universe is more mysterious than we think. We're not just bodies. Inside us is something transcending planets and galaxies. A consciousness, a soul. Death isn't an end, but a transition. I died and was reborn. Maybe I'll be born again elsewhere. Another galaxy, another universe. That's not scary. It's exciting. Infinite things to learn, infinite experiences to live. A middle-aged woman approached afterward, tearful. I remember too. Another life 2 centuries ago. You made me feel not alone. Jasper hugged her. You reminded me I'm not alone either. That day he understood. His Kepler loss balanced with gains here. Yes, he'd lost Silas, Evelyn, and Iris. But he'd found Marianne, Grant, his entire team. Most importantly, he'd found himself. Life was losses and gains, deaths and rebirths. In this infinite cycle, love always found its way. Today, the Jasper Whitlock case is still debated. Some believe him, some approach with skepticism. But one thing is certain. Jasper's story has affected millions of people across America and around the world. It made them think about life after death. It made them question whether they're alone in the universe. And maybe, just maybe, 452 light-years away, in Kepler 452b's orbit, there's still a colony. Maybe the people living there rebuilt after that terrible meteor strike. Maybe among them is an old man who thinks of his lost son every night as he watches the 3 moons. Maybe, deep in his soul, that man feels that his son is still alive, in another world, in another body, but with the same soul. And maybe one day, Jasper's quantum communication system will work. Maybe then, he'll send a message 452 light-years away. Father, it's me, Orion. I'm here. I love you. And maybe, just maybe, an answer will come. Son, I thought of you every day. Come home. But that homecoming won't be a physical journey. It will be a journey of souls. Because, as Jasper taught us, love transcends distance, time, even death itself. And one day, maybe years, maybe centuries from now, Jasper will die again. And who knows, maybe this time he'll return to Kepler. Maybe he'll find his family again. Maybe he'll be reborn as Orion. Because the universe is infinite, and consciousness is eternal.